This podcast includes real stories about accidents, deaths, and hauntings. Some content may be scary or upsetting for young listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Before you buckle into your roller coaster seat or sip your sweet tea at a colonial tavern replica, listen closely. Can you hear the whispers over the patriotic music? Can you feel the goosebumps that don't come from the summer breeze? Welcome. My name is Marissa, your morbidly curious host, and you are listening to Death Kiss Traveler, the show that explores the strange, the haunted, and the downright deadly corners of amusement parks and forgotten attractions. From twisted steel coasters to eerie sideshow tents, we uncover the real stories behind the thrill. Because sometimes the scariest part isn't the ride, it's the history. This is the podcast where history and horror meet, and I'm here to tell you every last story. Today we are traveling back, way back to the colonial roots of America. This is our special Independence Day episode. Our story takes us today to Williamsburg, Virginia. In Williamsburg, James City County, and the surrounding Virginia woodlands, the land tells quite a story of people who lived, died, and were often forgotten. For thousands of years, Native people called this region home, long before the first sails of the British Empire touched the shore in 1607. This was where North America's first successful British colony, Jamestown, took root, and where death became a constant companion. Long before the tourists, reenactors, and candy apples, Williamsburg was a city born from struggle, survival, and death. In May 1607, 104 English settlers established Jamestown on the James River, Britain's first enduring North American foothold. The colony struggled from the start. Contaminated water, crop failures, Powhatan tensions, and devastating winters accumulated into the starving time between 1609 and 1610, when over 80% of the settlers died, and survivors resorted to consuming human flesh. Skeletons unearthed in recent excavations show clear signs of cannibalism, even among children. So where did they go when they died? Most likely, they were buried near the places they fell, beneath crude wood markers, shallow trenches, and no monument at all. As a result, archaeologists still stumble upon forgotten graves, remnants of those desperate years, beneath neighborhoods, beside highways, and in the shadows of modern attractions. Between 1607 and 1624, nearly 6,000 colonists died, many buried hastily, their graves unmarked or forgotten. Archaeologists admit we still don't know where the bodies are. Many of these burial grounds are now cataloged and protected. When I began researching the forgotten graves of Williamsburg, I unearthed more than just records. I found the entire histories lost to time, hidden in overgrown thickets and quiet backyards. Graves that even longtime residents had no idea were just beneath their feet. This land, charming and historic as it may appear today, still cradles the bones and spirits of its first settlers, both native and European. And in this silence, between fireworks and the tour guide chatter, you might just hear them. What once was serene farmland and private cemeteries lie hidden under walks, amusement park rides, and visitor paths. Memorials forgotten under concrete and asphalt. Nestled in the historic heart of Virginia, just minutes from the colonial Williamsburg and Jamestown, Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened its gates in May 1975, blending high-thrill rides with old-world European charm. Originally developed by Anheuser-Busch, the park was designed not just as a theme park, but as an experimental journey through Europe. Themed villages modeled after countries like England, France, Germany, Scotland, and Ireland offered immersive environments with architecture, cuisine, music, and landscaping inspired by their namesakes. It was sometimes referred to as the Old Country. Set high above the banks of the James River, the park was carved into the rolling hills and the dense woodlands of coastal Virginia, embracing its natural surroundings rather than paving over them. Where other parks flattened the land to make room for steel and concrete, Busch Gardens wove its attractions through the trees, letting nature frame the magic. Guests walked winding paths shaded by oak and hickory. It felt like walking through a painting, one touched by fog, folklore, and something ancient. But it wasn't just the scenery that set Busch Gardens apart. From day one, the park offered guests a unique blend of living history and fantasy, including real breathing animals that roamed alongside the coasters and carousels. Guests could come face to face with Scottish Highland cattle, their long coats and curved horns evoking a medieval farmstead, Clydesdale horses, tall, regal, and impossibly gentle, pulled carriages through the cobblestone alleys. These animals weren't just attractions, they were a part of the atmosphere. And that's where Busch Gardens truly stood out, its dedication to blending thrills with storytelling. It was this deep, immersive approach that gave Busch Gardens its soul, and perhaps what awakened something older beneath its roots. Because when you build a place that honors the past so fully, it's no surprise when the past begins to stir. From the late 1970s onward, the park began carving its name into the history books of thrill seekers, earning a reputation for world-class coasters that blended cutting-edge engineering with immersive storytelling and atmospheric design. The first to etch itself into the coaster legend was the Loch Ness Monster, which opened in 1978. Rising above the Rhine River in the park's Scotland section, this towering steel serpent was unlike anything the world had ever seen. It was the first roller coaster in the world to feature two interlocking loops, two perfectly synchronized steel circles that sent riders twisting and screaming through a tangled illusion of collision. Themed after the legendary creature said to haunt the misty depths of the Loch Ness. The ride's dark tunnel, sudden drops, and fog-laced surroundings only fueled the myth. And over the years, guests have whispered of a second kind of presence, one not made of metal or myth, but something watching just from the water, just beneath the ride's lowest turn. Then came Alpengeist, a monster of another kind. Debuting in 1997, Alpengeist, German for Ghost of the Alps, was more than a name. It was a scream-inducing, snow-covered behemoth. Standing at 190 feet tall, it once was the tallest and fastest inverted roller coaster in the world. Riders dangled below the tracks as they hurled through 7 inversions, twisting through mock ski lodges and icy caves. According to some longtime employees, more than one early morning maintenance crew has heard whistling in the queue lane, even when the park is closed. Whether it's a wind tunnel or something else entirely, no one can say. In 2007, Busch Gardens raised the bar again with Griffon, a floorless dive coaster that holds riders 205 feet in the air, then stops, pauses, suspends them over the edge, and just when their fear peaks, it drops them at a perfect 90-degree angle, straight down with 2 massive loops, water splash effects, and speeds that top 70 miles per hour. Griffon is a breathtaking experience. Some guests claim that just before the drop, they heard a voice whisper, "Jump," though no one near them has spoken. A thrill or a threat. And then there's Verbolten, one of the park's most intriguing and mysterious rides. Opened in 2012 and themed around a haunted drive-through through the German Black Forest. Verbolten is part coaster, part ghost story. Riders board with what appears to be an innocent road trip, until the car veers off course into the woods. Inside the pitch-black show building, strange lights flicker, trees groan, and unseen forces rip your vehicle backward in a rare free-fall drop track. It's one of the few rides where the fear comes from not the height, but from what you can't see. Together, these 4 roller coasters, Loch Ness Monster, Alpengeist, Griffin, and Verbolten, aren't just thrill rides, they're living legends. And when you build stories this rich, this old world, and this rooted in folklore, it's no wonder the ghosts have started to take notice. Today, Busch Gardens Williamsburg is constantly ranked among the most beautiful theme parks in the world, thanks to its lush landscaping, colonial setting, and the centuries of history beneath its feet. But beneath the cobblestone paths and laughing guests, some say the land remembers something deeper, older, and far less cheerful. During construction in the 1970s, workers reportedly unearthed colonial-era tools and even what appeared to be unmarked graves. When Busch Gardens was under construction on what's now known as the Boneyard, a backstage area for employees, workers made a startling discovery: remnants of an old family graveyard belonging to Grant and Mary Scott and their 7 children, likely from the 1860s. As crew broke ground, they unearthed headstones and caskets, revealing an entire family plot, long forgotten beneath the park's growing infrastructure. The Scotts were a small local family that once lived on the land prior to the park's development. The discovery confirmed that Busch Gardens' current footprint overlaps areas originally used for small, rural burials in the 1860s. While detailed public accounts are limited, standard protocol for such situations typically include archaeological assessments to document the remains and the artifacts, careful excavation and possible relocation of the graves to comply with legal and respectful burial practices. Records suggest the Scots plot, though small, was documented, studied, and moved elsewhere in accordance with Virginia's burial laws. Several sites say they are moved to a small grove of trees near the entrance of the park, but there are no markers to confirm if this is true. Today, the land has been fully developed for its rides and backstage operations. There's no public memorial visible, but the discovery is remembered by park historians and researchers as a rare glimpse into the region's early settlement history. These burial sites offer context to the ghost stories that staff and guests whisper about: faint colonial figures, lost voices, unexplained chills. People often sense the energy of those still waiting to be remembered. Some say a little girl can be seen playing just beyond the trees, her dress faintly glowing in fading light. By the time anyone steps closer, she's gone. One worker, known only as Joe B., in a 1975 local report, said he saw a man in ragged colonial clothing walking through the fog. Near the entrance of the park, he waved. The man didn't wave back. He disappeared into thin air. Only 2 deaths have occurred at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and both involved contractor staff working on the Big Bad Wolf ride. The first was on May 2nd of 1993. A 63-year-old contracted maintenance worker, George H. Brown, was struck and killed by a moving train while clearing debris in a restricted area. The ride was shut down for a week during the investigation. The second was on March 1st, 2003. A seasonal contractor working on the ride was killed after his lift overturned during painting. Rescue teams pronounced him dead on the scene. The Big Bad Wolf closed in 2009 due to aging technology and rising maintenance costs, replaced by Verbolten in 2012. This modern multi-launch coaster that pays tribute to Big Bad Wolf by using the same final drop into the Rhine River Valley. Curse of Darkcastle was a trackless motion simulator, a dark ride combining 3D film, practical effects, motion-based vehicles, and immersive theming in a Gothic Bavarian castle. You board enchanted golden sleighs and entered the haunted halls of King Ludwig, a mad, ghostly monarch loosely inspired by the real King Ludwig II of Bavaria. It closed in 2017, despite being a fan favorite, due to high maintenance costs, limited seasonal operation, and shifting park strategy. It was replaced by Dark Coaster, Escape the Storm, opened in 2023, a family indoor coaster that loosely continues the story of the haunted castle. But in the early 2000s, staff running the now closed Curse of Dar Castle ride reported hearing a male voice in whisper, "The king still watches." The eerie whisper, "Turn back, the king still watches," reported by staff during the operation remains one of the most compelling and mysterious aspects of the ride's legacy. This phenomenon was not part of the ride's programmed audio, and it was constantly heard by multiple employees at the same location. This phenomenon was not part of the ride's programmed audio, and it was consistently heard by multiple employees at the same location within the attraction. Staff members operating the ride reported hearing the male voice whispering the phrase during the attraction's operation. Despite extensive investigations, replacing hardware, rewriting code, and checking audio files, the voice still persisted, always in the same spot, and never documented in the ride's official audio track. This unexplained occurrence led to widespread speculation among employees and enthusiasts about a possible haunting or just a glitch. Nearby Williamsburg hotels, popular with Busch Garden visitors, have their own eerie tales. Guests at the Fort Magruder Hotel reported visions of Civil War soldiers disappearing through the walls and rummaging through belongings late at night. In one account, a couple woke up to sounds of someone going through their luggage. When they turned on the lights, clothes were strewn across the floor, but no one was there. While not inside Busch Gardens, these haunting experiences are part of the same historic landscape. Busch Gardens sits just beside historic Kings Mill Plantation, where enslaved people once labored and died. Nearby archaeologists have uncovered slave burial grounds, iron coffins, and child-sized graves, some just yards from modern development. Many of these graves were forgotten for decades. Some may have been paved over. Over in the English Village section of the park, called Heatherdowns, nightly security has reported hearing footsteps pacing the cobblestone after hours. Tools left in one area are often found moved. Doors they locked are opened again on the next round. And one former guard wrote in a forum anonymously, "I heard whistling from the toy shop. No one was there. I could hear footsteps and the jingling of keys. The lights flickered, then nothing, and I don't work night shift anymore." Guests and staff often report sudden temperature drops while strolling through Heatherdowns, particularly near the Loch Ness Monster coaster area. One haunted blog recounted an employee's experience walking under the ride. Quote, "An unfriendly feeling hit, like I was being watched. It didn't dissipate until I'd passed the exit gate." End quote. Many describe this spot as oppressive and heavy, hallmarks of lingering, unseen presence. In the wooden paths around Heatherdowns, visitors sometimes glimpse a young girl playing alone in the trees. Approaching, they find only silence and her sudden disappearance into thin air. Though no solid documentation exists, this story mirrors classic folklore of children lost to tragic circumstances and seeking playmates. In the England section of the park, near the old forge and cobblestone paths, employees have reported hearing a ringing of hammer and anvil late at night. Though the blacksmith workshop is long closed, some say it's the spirit of a former craftsman who worked there when the area was under construction or in its early days, still forging his work in the afterlife. There have been sightings of a translucent woman in white, seen walking along or standing near the Rhine River Bridge, especially at dusk or during foggy mornings. The apparition is said to have vanished when approached. Local legend ties her tragic story of a woman who lost her fiancé in a boating accident on the river decades ago. Perhaps the most unsettling? Riders and grounds crew occasionally see dark silhouettes seated on coasters, such as Loch Ness Monster or Fort Bolton, when no one is aboard. While debated, many believe these are the ghosts of past visitors or spirits on the land's restless memories. So next time you stroll through the cobblestone streets of Heatherdowns, or wait for your coaster to click up Griffin's towering lift hill, listen closely. That whistle on the wind? It might not be a part of the ride. In a park built to honor the past, perhaps the past never left. This has been Death Kiss Traveler. I'm Marissa, and every thrill has its shadow. Until next time, keep your hands inside the ride and your eyes on the ghost in the seat beside you. Thank you for listening. Want to visit Busch Gardens in Williamsburg? Sunkissed Traveler can help you plan an amazing vacation. Visit sunkissedtraveler.com for more details. Link in the show notes. This podcast is researched and written by me, Marissa Benson. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only, while based on publicly available sources. Some details may not be independently verified. No defamation or misrepresentation is intended.